Hi,
Hey,
Mr.
thanks.
Nishant.
Thanks, Coach Suzit, for that introduction. So let me start my presentation. I'll share my screen, and you should be able to see my screen, everyone. All right. So can you see the
All
screen,
right.
Coach
Yes,
Suzit?
yes, we
All
can
right.
see
Great.
it.
Awesome.
And take it
So
away,
let's
Mr. Nishant.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much for all of you for showing up live on this free webinar. And thank you, Ariva, and everyone behind the scenes for making this possible. Today, I'm going to talk about how you can have extraordinary focus so you can achieve more in your life, break your personal records, and be world class in what you do in your life. Now, you might have heard this thing that we are living in the age of information. It is true that we're living in the age of information, but also I believe that we are actually living in the age of distractions. And why do I say that? It's because we have now research, and this is really scary statistics, because now we know that based on research that people on an average switch activities every 3 minutes, and they get some kind of distraction or interruption every 11 minutes. And when they experience a distraction or interruption, many times, in fact, 40% of the times, they don't even continue the task that they were doing beforehand. They will totally venture into something else. Now, here's a question for you. Don't you think, irrespective of how small or big the distractions and interruptions are, if you have a lot of these in today's world, do you think it'll negatively impact your focus, your productivity, and your performance? And I'm sure you'll agree with me on that. And that is the reason why I say that extraordinary focus is probably one of the secret ingredients that you need to have, because anyone who achieved extraordinary success in their life, I believe that they have extraordinary focus as well. So in today's presentation, I'm going to show you how you can leverage the power of the extraordinary focus so you can break your personal records, maintain momentum towards your goals, and be world class in what you do. And specifically, I'll be talking about three things today. Again, when it comes to improving your focus, achieving world class focus and extraordinary focus, there are a lot of things that you could do. But we have a short presentation today, and I want to make the most for you as far as your time is concerned. So I'm going to give you the most important ones that you can not only benefit from, but boom, start implementing starting from today, right after this session is over. So number one, today I'm going to talk about the power of single tasking. And then I'm going to talk about the power of no, which is a really, really important thing if you want to really have a great focus. And finally, we're going to talk about the power of what I call as the mental fuel. Now, how did I learn all these things? Just a bit of background here. I initially started off improving my memory. I used to have a lousy memory. I was always looking for ways and means of how I can improve my memory. With practice, with focus, with dedication, with commitment, with a ton of practice, I actually done some spectacular things compared to what I was capable of doing many years ago. And these are some of my records. I memorized a number consisting of 1,944 digits. That number looks like this. It's a huge number. When someone gives me that number, I'll look at that and I'll be able to recall that number in the forward backward sequences. And I hold a record for memorizing a deck of playing cards in the exact sequence in less than 2 minutes, and 7 decks of playing cards in less than an hour. And also, I became a grandmaster of memory. I also broke a Guinness record in memory in 2011. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because all of these things require extraordinary focus. Because if you want to memorize numbers, cards, colors, or anything for that matter, you need to have focus. And what I realized is focus is not only important for me to break my records in the world of memory, but also focus is important for anyone. Now, I know that people here, I mean, for those of you, tuning in from different parts of the world, I know that 100% that you are not interested in breaking a Guinness record. I know that you're not interested in making a record for memorizing numbers, but one thing I know for sure, I'm sure that you're interested in breaking your personal records. And if you want to break your personal records, if you want to maintain your momentum, if you want to keep growing, you need to have focus, just like the way I had focus. So that's a little bit of background here. And let's first talk about the very first component, and that is single tasking. Now, you might have heard this a lot, and today let me break it down for you, and let me also show you how you can incorporate the power of single tasking. So my suggestion for you today is just this. Now, is my camera okay, Coach Susan? Able to see me clear? Just want to make sure, is my everything okay?
It's perfect, Nishant. The
Perfect.
slides
Okay,
are
just
clear
because
and
I
you're
just.
clear as well. Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, thank you so much. So my suggestion is do single tasking. You've heard that before, but before I tell you how to do that, let me just take you back to ancient India. Now, in ancient India, there used to be a very famous archer by the name of Arjuna. And Arjuna was very famous for his outstanding ability to shoot at the target with his bow and arrow 100% of the time, every time. And people were thinking, I mean, holy cow, how can Arjuna have this level of insane levels of focus? So one day there was a competition of archery. A lot of people gathered, and there were three contestants. The first contestant comes in, he's about to shoot, and the objective of that competition was there was a wooden bird that was kept on a faraway tree branch, and any person not to hit the bird, but they have to hit the bird's eye. The wooden bird's eye. If you can hit the wooden bird's eye with your bow and arrow, boom, you win the competition. Contestant number one comes in, takes the aim, and about to shoot, the teacher asks to the first contestant, hey, what do you see? What do you see in front of you? The first contestant says, teacher, I see the bird. And of course, the teacher says, okay, what else do you see? And the first contestant says, teacher, I see the bird, I see the clouds, and I see the sun. And says, okay, go ahead, shoot. And he shoots, and unfortunately, it doesn't hit the bird's eye. Second contestant, same question, what do you see? This time, slightly different answer. He replies, teacher, I see the bird, I see the bird's legs, and I see the branch on which the bird is sitting. I said, okay, great. Shoot. He shoots and it just misses. It hits the bird but doesn't hit the eye of the bird. Third contestant, of course, the famous Arjuna. He comes in, he takes his position, about to aim. Same question, Arjuna, what do you see? This time, Arjuna had a totally different answer. He looked at the bird's eye and all he said was, teacher, I see blackness. What? When teacher was saying, what do you mean by blackness? Don't you see the bird? Don't you see the cloud? Don't you see the branch? Don't you see the legs? Don't you see the sun? Arjuna says, teacher, all I can see is the blackness of the bird's eye. Teacher says, go ahead, shoot. And he shot. And you know what happened? He hit the bird's eye. Now, why is this story relevant? Because this, as per the legends, this happened, I don't know, thousands or maybe, I don't know, millions of years, maybe not billions, definitely thousands of years ago. But the message of Arjuna is simply this: single tasking. If you have single tasking, you will have infinite powers to what you can do in your life. Now, the easy way to explain single tasking is to explain what is multitasking, because single tasking is exactly the opposite of I'm sorry, is exactly the opposite of multitasking. Now, what is multitasking? Multitasking is, people are doing a project a task A, they switch the task and do project B, they switch the task again, come back to project A, and they keep on switching. And that is what we think is multitasking. But here's the interesting thing. We now have proof, we now have research that the human brain is simply not designed to do multitasking. You really can't do three things at one time. Your brain can't handle that. In I would say in most cases. So when people say they're multitasking, what they're really doing is what is called as switch tasking. You focus on one thing, switch, focus on another thing, switch, come back, switch, come back, do if that's what switch tasking is. And every time you switch a task, what happens is there's something which is called as a switching cost. And the cost is you have to pay a price for that. And the price is low quality work, low quality of productivity, and then the work keeping on dragging. And you don't want that to happen. So if that is what is multitasking, then what is single tasking? It's just like the Arjuna. Arjuna focused only on one thing, the bird's eye, and forgot everything else. Not forget, he didn't even look at everything else. Not even the legs of the bird, not even the branch, not even the trees and the clouds and the sun, nothing. Focus on the bird's eye. And how can you apply in your life? How can you apply in your work? How can you apply in your family? When you're working on a task, when you're working on a project, you should be focusing only on one thing and leave out everything. Distractions, interruptions, the urges, the temptations, looking at social media, checking emails, doing other tasks. You don't want to do that. Now, I hope you realize the importance of single tasking. Now, the question is, how do you do it? Well, I have a formula for you. And if you use this formula, it's going to be really easy for you. Now, this is the formula that I have for you. It's called 50-1-0. If you want to practice single tasking, you do the 50-1-0. The problem with single tasking is this. You can't wish, okay, today I'm doing my focus time and let me do single tasking. You got to have a strategy, you got to have a formula, you got to have a steps, and these are the steps. 50-10. What is 50? 50 is 50 minutes time chunk. Now, there's a famous concept in productivity called as the Pomodoro technique. This is slightly a different version of that because Pomodoro technique is focused for 25 minutes. In this technique, it's 50 minutes. Just take two chunks. So you set a timer for 50 minutes, and then you pre-decide before you hit the timer, you pre-decide what task, what specific task you're going to work in that 50 minutes, right? That is number one, single tasking. Focus on one thing. Do not start the timer and then think, okay, I've just started the timer, so what should I be doing now? No, pre-decide what is the one thing I should be doing, and then hit the timer, 50 minutes, and then the magic happens in the zero stage. And what zero stands is, you guessed it, zero distractions, zero interruptions. Focusing only on the thing that you have decided that you would do. Now, the reason why zero is important is because that is where all chaos happens. That is where all hell breaks loose. That is where you just mess up with the productivity and the focus. So it is okay to set the 50 minutes. It is okay to select one thing, but it is important, critical, absolutely must that you have to say no to distractions and interruptions. And the reason for that is this: focus builds momentum, distractions kill momentum. If you want to have momentum in your life towards your goals, towards your projects, towards setting your personal records, towards being world-class in your life, you got to take advantage of the focus, because focus builds momentum and distractions kill momentum. So that is the first thing that I'd like to talk about as far as this is concerned. Because here's the thing: if you want to break personal records, you have to break your patterns. You have to break your patterns of interruptions and distractions. And how do you do that? You just do one 50-minute session at a time. Because whenever you want to achieve a big goal, what do? You take the first step, the second step, the third step. So when it comes to having world-class focus, you don't look at the whole 1 year. You just look at, okay, what can I do for the next 50 minutes? Ensure you got world-class focus. Then the next 50 minutes. So you cultivate world-class focus by just focusing on one 50-minute session at one time. Now, here's a quick question for you. Just imagine really, if you just set a timer, let's say after this call is over, you have some project to work on, and you just set a timer of 50 minutes, and you just choose one thing to do, and you had absolutely zero distractions, zero interruptions. And if you just had one of those in the truest sense, zero distractions, zero interruptions, and one single task in 50 minutes, if you just had one session, do you think it's going to help you to be more productive in your life? And what if you had 3 of those in a day? What if you had 5 of those in a day? How does it impact your life? How does it impact your work? How does it impact your family? So just work on that, because this is a critical piece of the puzzle if you want to have a laser sharp focus. Because I know that many people who have achieved sorry, let me just take a sip of water. People who have achieved extraordinary levels of success, they have the single tasking, right? So that's the first thing. Now, here's the thing. Single tasking will gain you the momentum. But if you want to maintain the momentum, when you don't want to crash that momentum, the next thing is critical. Because I know some people who might be doing single tasking, but if you don't have the next thing, the momentum that you build for single tasking can crash. And what I'm talking about is the power of saying no. This is so important for having extraordinary focus. And to give an example here, let me just take you back from the ancient India of Arjuna to one of the most modern companies in the world, Apple, and let's talk about Steve Jobs. Now, when Steve Jobs was called back into Apple, and at that time, Apple was not really doing well, and then one of the first things that Steve Jobs' work was, he was just reviewing the product line. So, okay, how many products do we have? So they had, at that time, Apple had multiple different versions of the same product. Now, Steve Jobs said, we are just taking our focus and putting our focus on too many things. So what we need to do is to really focus on the things that really matter in our life, and in that case, not life, but in the business. And then he did something which is extraordinary and amazing. And he said that let's kill 70% of the product line. Let's focus only on the vital few that's going to get the most bang for our buck. Let's focus on those things, because that's what we should be known for. That's what we want to give the experience for. Of course, there are many other reasons why Steve Jobs had to do the decision, but one of the things is the power of saying no. And this is what Steve Jobs said. Deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. Deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. And when they did that, when they focused on the things that really matter and confidently said no to many other things that are not helping them in their business bottom line, what happened is Apple went from a loss, minus of about $1 billion within just 1 year, making a profit of $300 million. And now, Apple is worth more than $1 trillion. So the lesson that we can learn from Steve Jobs and from this whole experience is you got to say no. Saying yes to, you need to have a to-do list, but also you need to have a what not to do list if you want to have extraordinary focus. Now, here's a simple idea that you can really work on. And here's how it actually comes down. First of all, take some time and look at what are your 3 big goals you want to achieve in your life. What are your 3 big goals? If you really achieve these 3 goals in this year, that year is going to be super productive. You'll be happy, your boss will be happy, your family will be happy, your kids will be happy, everyone will be happy, and you'll feel fulfilled. What are the 3 things that must happen in this year? Write them down. So probably you already have what these things are, but sometimes many people don't have it. They have a fuzzy idea of, okay, I want to get this thing. Be specific, be clear, be so specific as to what exactly you want to achieve so that you have a fabulous year this year. And then the next thing is this. What you need to do is when you write down your to-do list for the day. So every day you have a to-do list. So what are the things that I need to do? And here's my question for you. At the end of writing your to-do list, the question that you need to ask yourself is, are there some tasks on this list that directly help me to move forward towards at least one or more of the goal that I have for the big picture goal, which is the big goals that I have? Because the problem is, if you have a to-do list and your to-do list is only about what you need to do today, I know that you're busy, I know that you have to do a lot of things, but you still got to squeeze time for the things that are important for you in your big picture. You need to have those things. Otherwise, what happens is, if you just only have the urgent things, what happens? It becomes so difficult to say no to other things, right? So if you have, let's say, for example, you have your to-do list and you look at the to-do list and say, okay, you know what? These 3 things are very important for me, for my big goals for this year. And guess what? When something else comes into your plate on that day, it's very easy to say no because you know exactly what you want to work on for your long term. The classic, the Eisenhower matrix. We should be working on things that are not important and urgent, but we should be working on things that are not urgent but important. The goal is not urgent right now because you can just chill out for one day. You'll still achieve your goal, but it is important to work on a daily basis. Now, the reason why this is important is because the more times you say no, the better you will have the focus for. So here's a quick question for you. How many times someone asks something to you and you really, from your heart, from your mind, everything, you shouldn't be doing that, and then you just said yes to that, and what kind of feeling you had? Did you not feel bad the whole time of thinking about that experience, and then you tell yourself that, what, next time I'll say no to this person, next time I'll say no to such tasks? But then we kept on doing these things because what? People will like you if you say yes. They'll like you. You want to be people pleaser? Definitely go ahead and say yes. People will like you if you say yes. You will like yourself if you say no. And that's what we want. If you want to keep momentum towards our goals, you got to be liking yourself. And this is very, very important stuff, right? And you need to be getting into the habit of saying no to things, to projects, and to activities and tasks that do not add value to your big picture. Now, of course, you need to have entertainment in your life. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is you need to get into the habit of saying no because of what you just saw here. Now, if you get into the habit of saying no, what will happen? You'll have less guilt. You will have less stress. And if you know what are the few things that you need to focus on, it's a lot easier to focus on the vital few than to focus on 20 things that are not contributing directly towards your goals, directly towards your dreams, directly towards your aspirations. So if you want to have super levels of focus, you got to say no to it. Now, here's one thing. Think about someone in the field of sports, in the field of business, in the field of athletics, in the field of arts, anyone for that matter, anyone for that matter. Just think about these things. Do you think these people had the ability to say no? Well, I guess yes. Read their stories, read their biographies. You know that these people had the ability to say no. They were so immersed and obsessed and focused on the things that they should be working, and they said no, 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 no to everything else. That's the reason why we think about these people. That's the reason why we read stories about these people. That is the reason why we feel inspiration about these people, because they had said no to things that don't add value. Now, my question for you for today is, right now, you already have a to-do list. You already have the list of things that you need to do today. Now, my question for you is there at least a couple of those things on that to-do list for today that are directly contributing to achieving your big goals in your life? If you don't have that, you still have time. It's only 2 o'clock. 2:30 in the afternoon in Singapore and in Asia, some of the regions. But wherever you are, you still have time to include a couple of tasks that will move directly towards your goal, and go ahead and include those things, because that is how you will have laser sharp focus towards your goal. So here's the thing, what just happened. But single tasking will get you into the momentum, and saying no will help you to focus on the vital few things that you need to be focusing on. Because if you're focusing on too many things, you don't have the time, you don't have the energy. And that brings us to the next thing. And the next thing is, you also need to have the mental fuel. Because first of all, if you don't have the mental fuel, it's easy to say yes. If you don't have the mental fuel, it's easy to go to multitasking. Now, what do I mean by mental fuel? But before I talk about mental fuel, let's just talk about fuel in general. Now, there are low grade fuels and there are high grade fuels, right? So if you have a car and you can have a high quality, premium quality oil, premium quality fuel, and the advantage of that is, it's smooth, it gets to destination faster, there's more, your car will long last, and everything will work perfectly, and it's all good. Now my question is, when it comes to your body, when it comes to your brain, do you have high quality mental fuel? And if you don't have that, what happens is, all the time you'll be just doing on fighting fires all the time and not focusing on the big picture strategy, and we don't have focus. Forget about extraordinary focus we have, don't even have normal focus also. So what I mean by mental fuel, so how do you have the mental stamina, and how do you have the energy to move through different facets of our life? Because we are very busy people, we have multiple different projects, and we've got families to support and everything. So how do you have the mental fuel, and how do you take care of the mental fuel? I mean, there are a lot of things that you could do, but let me just tell you the three most important ones that you should be focusing on, and will instantly will help you to have better, high quality mental fuel. So what I'm talking about is this: world class results require high grade mental fuel. And just keep that in mind. You need to have a high grade mental fuel if you want to have world class results. And how do you get that? Oh, just a bit of disclaimer here. What I'm going to show you next. Some of you might already know that, and some of you might know that, but you haven't done it, and some of you might not realize the importance of this. But trust me, I have been doing this for 20 years. I broke a Guinness record. I went from zero to to improve my mental performance, because I believe and I use every day in these three things that actually help me to have much better high grade mental fuel. So the three things are: number one, gratitude; number two, reflect; number three, meditate. You want a world class focus? You want extraordinary focus? You want to break your personal records? You want to maintain momentum your goal? Go for these three things. Number one is gratitude. Now, again, I'm not going to give you a lecture on gratitude. All I will say is, if you want to have focus, we should have less stress in our life. And the first thing that we have for that is, you should be focusing more on what we have and not focusing on what we don't have. Of course, we need to have goals in our life, we need to aspire to that. But if you're focusing on what we don't have, then that is what you'll be focusing on more of. So we focus on what we have and be grateful of what we have. And many people, you might have seen about gratitude journals, people writing every day what they're grateful for. Now, I tried doing that, but I don't know about you, but after some time, what happens is, you end up writing the same things again and again. I love my family, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for having a good body, I'm grateful for, okay, of course, you got to be grateful. I'm not saying don't be grateful, but then it kind of gets repetitive. So what I do for gratitude is, at the end of the day, I always write down one or two things as to, okay, what good has happened to me today? What good has happened to me today? Now, yeah, we are going through pandemic, and a lot of bad things happen. Yeah, but a lot of good things happen too. So we need to focus on that. And that is what gratitude is all about. So what are the one or two good things? And if you look for it, you'll have good things. Now, am I saying that ignore the bad things happening? No, I'm not saying. But I'm saying that don't ignore the good things too. Because if you want to have high class focus, you need to have the mental peace, the clarity, and the strength to do that. And if you always stressed out, read the news, the negative stuff, and what happens is, even the little bit of focus you can muster up, it's just easy to dissipate because you don't have that stuff here. So that's number one, which is gratitude. Number two, very, very underrated. Many people don't do this, and I can tell you this has been my secret source of mental fuel for many, many years, and that is reflect. And I do 10 minutes every day. You can do 1 minute, you can do 30 seconds, but definitely do a reflect. Now, what I mean by reflect is this. At the end of the day, I would spend just 10 minutes and then just think through how has the day been. Okay, what are some good things that have happened and what are some not so good things that have happened and how can I improve them. So basically it's about to reflect. The problem is in the way in the current world we're living in, we are in the consumption mode. Consume. I call it the input mode. I have something that's called as the input and the output. We all have input all the time. Read a book, go to a webinar, watch a video, do the thing, so it's all input, consumption. But the problem is, if you want to tap your inner wisdom, we all have the inner wisdom. We all have our guiding compass. We know, but you need to activate that so that that'll actually help us. Hey, am I going in the right direction or not? But the problem is we're not pausing. We are running all the time. You got to pause 10 minutes. Now, 10 minutes initially will look like ages because we can't even stay for 30 seconds without consumption. So it's a new skill. It's important. So the thing that you need to do is pause for 10 minutes and don't consume. No input, no MP3, no soft music at the background, no watching TV or Netflix. No, just sit there, think. How has the day been? What are some good things that have happened, and how can I use them more? What are things I messed up? We mess up a lot every day. So what are some bad things that have happened today, and how can I do? So when we have these things, sometimes that is all that is required. Now again, go back to anyone who's achieved extraordinary success. The number one reason they'll always tell you is feedback. Now for feedback, you got coaches, because you have mentors, you have bosses who are helpful. You can ask them for feedback, but certain things only you can ask your inner wisdom. The inner wisdom will guide you, and you need to tap into that. And how do you tap into it? Pause. Ask yourself, how can I change my life? Or what happened today? And I've got some crazy in a good way. I've got some crazy. I would never think. I would never think about these things normally, but in my reflect mode, my brain is at a different level. That's why I say it's a high grade mental fuel. So you start thinking about the thing that you never thought of because we are pausing. We are not letting consumption, we're just letting it go, and then the fog clears away, you see more clarity. So that's the reflect. And the last thing is meditation. Now again, meditation, I know a couple of, sometimes I know people tell me that, oh Nishant, yeah, come on, it's kind of woo-woo stuff. I don't know meditation, I'm so busy, I've got 21 different projects. I don't have the time to sit and breathe, I have better things to do in my life. It's just like saying, I want to go faster, I don't have time to stop for the fuel. You know what I'm saying? You got to stop for the fuel. And when you're stopping for the fuel, better get the good quality fuel, right? So you can't be running. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to run out of fuel. So what I mean meditation is exactly like that. So what I mean by meditation is very simple. Again, there are 21 different ways of doing meditation, or maybe 21,000 different ways. Now, do not go and research everything. I can tell you the world's easiest thing. That is what I do. Been doing for 25 years now, every day without missing. And this is what I do is I just close my eyes and I just focus on breathing. I focus on my breath going in, I focus on my breath going out. That's all I do. Now, here's the thing. Now, many people say, oh, come on, Nishant, I've tried this. Trust me, I've tried this. But the problem is, I just kept thinking about all these 21 different things in my life. So what should I do? That's the reason why I think meditation is not for me. And the problem is people do not enjoy or get the fruits of meditation because their objective of meditation and the perspective of meditation is wrong. In most cases, the objective of meditation is not to sit and focus on breathing and not think about anything else. That is wrong. That's not meditation. Meditation is sitting down, focusing on your breath, and when your thoughts goes away, the moment you realize the thoughts are going away, your mind is going away with different thoughts, bring back those thoughts back into the breathing. Breathing, thoughts go away, bring it back. thoughts go away. Thoughts don't go away. You keep thinking. The moment you think about something, bring it back to your focus of this thing. And this is where you're also helping you to have better focus. Now just think about your normal day-to-day life. Let's forget about meditation for a while. So let's say your normal working day, you just come to your office, and of course now we don't go to the office as much, we're working from home, but even then, same thing. You open up your laptop, you really want to focus on the project. Then what happens? After a few minutes, remember the statistics I told you, every 3 minutes, every 11 minutes, we switch tasks, we get distractions, and when we get distractions, what do? We just go there. And like I said, 40% of the times, we don't even come back to the same task. But if you have trained meditation, what happens? Meditation is you're focusing on one task, which is breathing. Thoughts come. The moment you realize you have the stamina, the mental stamina, to get back to the task that you're working on. So that is how powerful meditation is. And the people who do meditation, it's much easier for them to focus. Now, that is what mental fuel is. So here's my question for you. At the end of the day, if you felt that, if you focused on the good things that have happened, gratitude, and if you focused on what are the things that I can improve on, and what are the things I can change in my life, reflect. And if I have trained my brain for mental clarity, meditation, do you think that would be a good day? And if you think that is a good day, and you need to manufacture these good days don't happen on their own. We can't just wish to have a good day. We need to manufacture these days. And the way to manufacture these days is by just spending a few minutes on these three things. And it's not really much actually. Gratitude, couple of minutes, reflect, 10 minutes, meditation. The research says that, as little as 8 minutes a day, set the timer for 8 minutes, just do meditation. And you might be spending only 20 minutes in the whole process, but the 20 minutes is going to give you huge leverage on the time and energy that you spend on. So there you have it. If you want to, this is a secret ingredient, because many people take focus loosely, and here's the problem. I know many people, this is what they do, right? They have a busy day today. Oh, today is a very busy day. Especially working from home, you tell your spouse, you tell your kids, don't disturb. Today is very, very important. I've got 22 projects working. So just focus. And the moment you focus, you just can't focus. Because the problem is, it's just like, a person, I'll give an example of, catching a bus, right? So you're waiting for the bus, and then you're about to go to the bus stop. And the moment you're about to go, you can see at a distance that the bus is about to leave, and you have to run to catch the bus. Otherwise, you leave the bus. Now, because you have to catch the bus, you just start running. And what happens? Boom, your leg, ankle or something like that, and you just have a twist, and then you have a spasm. Oh my goodness, my leg. Okay, why does it happen? Because if you not exercise your body, when you suddenly want to catch the bus, you just can't, because your body is not ready for it. But a person who is an athlete, a person who exercises regularly, if that person has to catch a bus, boom, he can run, catch the bus, everything is okay. No, don't even realize that, don't even have to catch a breath, because that's a part of their life. Same thing. You want to focus, you got to train your brain to focus. So at the time of project, you just can't go to the project and say to yourself, let me focus. How do you get the focus? You got to train your focus. And the way to train your focus is 50-1-0 for single tasking. Write down your big goals. Your to-do list has at least a couple of items that actually help you to achieve your big goals. That will actually help you to focus. And then, are you practicing the gratitude? Are you practicing the reflect? Are you practicing the meditation? So that'll have the mental energy to focus. When you do all these things, and when you really want to focus, even for 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours on an important project, no problem. You train your brain. It's easy to work on any big goal that you have. So that is how you break your personal records. That is how you maintain momentum in your life. That is how you become world-class in what you do. And here's an exercise for you. Think of a person that you really admire for his or her success in the field of sports, politics, business, work, or arts, anything, and study their life. And you will see that they do single tasking. You will see they say no to things that don't add value for them. And you will see they might not specifically do reflect or sit down and reflect, but there's always a reflect mode that's happening. They're having the mental energy also. And that is how you get to extraordinary focus. So hope you got some good information. So this is a very short presentation, and I try to give you the best that I can. And back to Coach if you have, I'm not able to see the chat right now, but if there's anything that's coming up right now, let me know. So far,
thank you, Mr. Nishant. A big hand for Mr. Nishant.
thank you.
Thank you. Your presentation is indeed an eye opener for everyone, I'm sure, because you did a lot of myth busting here. A lot of us believe that multitasking is the way to go. You know how we love to finish a lot of things in a short period of time. So you did a myth bust on that. And also the power of saying no. We Filipinos, we love to please others.
Yes.
Most of us, and you opened our eyes into integrating that ability to the power of saying no. And the last one, of course, is the mental fuel, which is really, really amazing because most of us forget about our health. We forget to do meditation, relaxation of the mind, and even gratitude. So thank you very much, Mr. Nishant, for that.